stand before you and say that the only casualty in this protracted standoff perhaps our bodily aroma. But on the other hand, our spirit has been elevated and our courage fortified. Having surveyed what has happened over the past few days, we can conclude that we have achieved what we set out to achieve and then some. The world now knows the extent of the repression in Singapore, and hopefully this will translate into pressure on the Singapore government to reform the system. Our protest has also allowed the activists to discover ourselves and find the courage that we never thought we had. As a result, we are announcing that we are standing down and ending our action on a highly satisfactory note. I had warned Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong in my podcast on the eve of our protest that if he makes the wrong decision on clamping down on our democratic rights, that repercussions will do much damage to his prime ministership. I don't think that anyone here today can deny that the ill-advised and clumsy effort to stop us from marching to Parliament House has been a complete and utter disaster for the government's reputation across the world. Unwittingly, the government has helped us create a much heavier and wider impact by stopping us than if they had allowed us to march. I had also warned the Prime Minister that every act of repression will be met by a stronger reaction from pro-democracy groups. That's it, man. It is a fight that the Prime Minister cannot win. If you have seen what I have seen and heard what I have heard over the past 3 days, you will realize that the protesters have become even more steeled in our resolve to wean the PAP of its dictatorial habits. In addition, our numbers have grown. Supporters and observers have noted how a peaceful yet defiant act of civil disobedience can help to bring about positive change. Our numbers can only grow. We are already planning for the next stage, which will see an escalation of our campaign. Over the next few months, we will step out our efforts to raise awareness of the need for democracy in Singapore. We will step out our efforts to recruit activists and train them. And we will step out our efforts to organize more activities and more public protests in a peaceful manner. Our 72-hour protest, which I have been told is unprecedented, and it has certainly been an historic event here in Singapore. It may have come to a close, but I assure you that our movement, our campaign for democracy, will grow and gain momentum and strength. Thank you very much. Before we take questions from the media, I'd like to invite Mr. Gandhi Ambalam to address you on some of the points that he has wanted to raise.
Well, I have been with Dr. Chee and Miss Chee since Saturday for the past 3.5 days all the activists, 7 of us have been confined to the Hong Lim Park. We have not been allowed to move out of this place. We decided to face this challenge. Our intention originally was to go to Parliament House, then from there proceed on to Suntec City, and then from there to go over to Istana, the Presidential Palace. With a rally, we wanted to end our activity on Saturday. This was frustrated by the police unilateral dictatorial action. The police cannot justify why we cannot hold a peaceful and civil disobedience, non-violent protest march on our roads. This still intrigues why that we Singaporeans cannot exercise our basic human rights to assemble freely and address our fellow citizens. This is something that only countries where there is dictatorial regime exists, like Burma, you would find such repression and oppressive actions. But we, as a result of this 3.5 days experience, we are resolved, we are more determined, we are more courageous in meeting whatever challenge that we need to face in order to bring about awareness among Singaporeans. Especially the local media has been completely doing a blackout of our activities. This is, as Dr. Chee said, an unprecedented exercise. Never ever in the history of Singapore such a 3.5 day standoff has taken place since the early 60s. So this has come about nearly more than 40 years in Singapore. We have succeeded. We believe that our action has tremendous success in bringing about awareness. The only obstacle, that the major hurdle that we face today is one of blackout from the PAP-controlled newspapers, radio and television. No point in engaging for the Prime Minister and his father, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, to invite students, school kids and junior college students and grassroots leaders over to television studios and call it a debate. Why can't they debate with the opposition? People like Dr. Chee and others should be engaged in a debate so that we will be having a knowledge-based, creative and innovative society. That is what we want to see. And in this struggle, that the total blackout by the media is totally unacceptable, and we will struggle to expose the duplicity of the media that is completely under the jackboot of the PAP regime. Thank you.
Ms. Chee Soon Juan will also say a few words.
I wish I was addressing this crowd, perhaps more comfortable or even perhaps more glamorous circumstances. But the past 3 to 4 days have been a very trying, tiring, but at the same time exhilarating experience. Tiring because we haven't had very much sleep, been under the elements for more than 72 hours. Trying because of the manner in which the Singapore police force used or abused its authority in restricting our movements. And exhilarating because I know I'm part of this historical event, and I'm proud to have been involved in it. The oppressive action taken by this government have called up strength and will that I never thought I had. The more tyrannical this government is, the more determined I am to break these shackles. Supporters, well-wishers and indeed strangers who have been in contact with us these 3 days have made this consistent remark that democracy will not be handed to us on a silver platter, that we will have to fight for it. And that is what we have set out. Playing back our rights peacefully, rights that have been denied, violated by this government for decades. We will continue in our struggle. There will be a long road ahead of us, but we are determined that our freedom and our rights are worth fighting for.
If there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them now. If you look at what the media knew before this event and what the world knows now, I think there's difference day and night. Prior to our calling attention to the denial of our rights here in Singapore, I don't think very many people in the international community knew the extent of the repressive nature of this government. And because of that, the Singapore government has been able to sell itself and deceive everyone in the world that it is somehow a modern, progressive, and by extension, a transparent and accountable government that allows free trade, that encourages safe investments here in this country. But now that the world knows, we say again that free trade without freedom is exploitation. How that system can last will be put to a test when the economy begins to unravel, as we have seen in Indonesia. So I say again, let us go together forward and have our political development grow in tandem with our economic development, and that will ensure sustained prosperity and stability. We started off with 6 activists who were willing to don on this t-shirt and come down to the speaker's corner to do whatever we had planned to do. Now I can tell you, in the Singapore context, this is a huge step forward. And if you had seen, and you were here with us on Saturday, you had seen the ring of police officers surrounding the 6 of us, keeping everybody away. And people were staying away. But with time, through the 3 days, we have seen an additional 3 activists who were willing to come and sit with us, put on this t-shirt. A couple of them cannot be here this morning because they couldn't get off from work. But this is a huge encouragement for us. As I said again, in the Singapore context, you're not going to be able to see tens of thousands of people coming together. Not at this time anyway. But it is a huge step forward, and it's a very encouraging and positive sign for us. We're prepared for that. I think the government has only been very restrained because of the presence of the international media. Frankly, we don't know what's going to happen over the next few days when the World Bank, IMF delegates leave Singapore and the attention shifts out. But we are prepared for the consequences. As Democrats, democracy activists, anywhere in the world, not just in Singapore, the repression will come. And it is only when the government continues to react that we can find ways and means that we can counter-react and move our campaign forward. And I do want to say this again to this government very, very clearly, that every step that it makes provides us with more opportunity to counteract, and we will use it intelligently and maximize the effectiveness. Are there any more questions?
Do you have any details on your plans to raise experts?
We will announce it. We will announce it as we've been conducting workshops, fundamentally to raise awareness about human rights, the history of human rights, how it came about on the international scene, why it came about. And it's only with a good grounding of and knowledgeable knowledge of human rights can Singaporeans then begin to understand the importance of how human rights can help them. And we're also training activists in the theory and practice of nonviolent action, very popularly advanced by Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, so on and so forth. They have very practical applications to Singapore in terms of strategies, and they are very usable. And as you can just witness, we have put it to good effect over the past 3 days. Anything else? We will continue. We will continue to plan, to make plans, and they will evolve. The ideas will take shape, and when the time comes, we will make the announcements as we have for this particular event. All right? If there are no other questions, I thank you very much. We will make our way out of this place.
Where are you going?
Thank you. I'm sorry?
Where are you going now?
We are going home. As we have started, we will end by saying the pledge and continue with our defiance and pledge that we will overcome. We, the citizens of Singapore, pledge ourselves as one united people, regardless of race, language or religion, to build a democratic society based on justice and equality so as to achieve happiness, prosperity and progress for our nation. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We shall not be afraid. We shall not be afraid. We shall not be afraid. We shall not be afraid today. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome today. We are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone today. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. Thank you to all our supporters and friends. Thank you very much. Hey, thanks for coming. We are going home. We're on our way home. If you so insist, we can bring our things back down and we can continue this if you're going to detain us here. I've just said it. All right? Then step aside.